All right, so today we are going to solve rational equations. We've just been dealing with expressions. What does an equation have?
An equal sign.
An equal sign, yes. Okay. So, if you just have a single fraction on each side of the equal sign, then you just have to cross multiply. Okay? And so these are problems that are similar to problems that you should have had in Algebra 1. Hopefully this is just review. So for example 1, we've got 3 over x plus 1 equals 9 over 4x plus 5. So I've got one fraction on the left, one fraction on the right. I can cross multiply. I can take 3 times the 4x plus 5 and write it with parentheses so you remember to do the distributive property. And that's going to equal 9 times x plus 1. So if I multiply that out, I get 12x plus 15 equals 9x plus 9. And so I'm going to subtract 9x from both sides and subtract 15 from both sides. And so now I get 3x is equal to negative 6. So x equals negative 2. And if I go back and plug it in to make sure it works, I plug it into the original problem. I have 3 over negative 2 plus 1 equals 9 over 4 times negative 2, which is negative 8 plus 5. So I get 3 over negative 1 equals 9 over negative 3, and that they both reduce to negative 3. So I can see that I got the right answer, and it works. So these are pretty straightforward. You just got to make sure you distribute correctly and don't make any silly math mistakes. Okay, so any questions on those? Okay. All right. Now for the ones that are a little bit more complicated. So if it's not a proportion, if you've got some plus or minus signs between your fractions, then we're going to do fraction busting. Okay, so what I mean by fraction busting is we're going to multiply the numerator, or the top, by the lowest common denominator. And that's going to make the fractions go away. So for our first example, we've got 5 over x plus 7 over 4 equals negative 9 over x. All right, so if I look at this equation, my lowest common denominator is going to be what? Just 4 times x, yeah, 4x. So what I'm going to do, I'll give myself some more room here when I rewrite it. 5 over x plus 7 over 4 equals negative 9 over x. I'm just multiplying the numerator times the lowest common denominator. If you want to imagine it's over 1, you can, or if you want to imagine, like just stretch out the fraction, however you want to see it, is fine. Okay, then I go through and I cancel out what I can cancel out. And so for the first term, the x's cancel out. The second term, the 4's cancel out. And the last term, the x's cancel out.
You don't have to times the bottom for it?
No, we're only multiplying it on top because we want the fractions to go away. So that's why by multiplying by the lowest common denominator, all the denominators will divide into it and I won't have a fraction anymore. So I have 5 times 4, that's 20, and then 7 times x, 7x, and negative 9 times 4 is negative 36. And so if I subtract 20 from both sides, I get 7x is equal to negative 56, and so x equals negative 8. And then I go back and I double check just to be sure that I did it right. 5 over negative 8 plus 7 over 4 equals negative 9 over negative 8. And so I've got negative 5 over 8, and I'm going to do this times 2. So 14 over 8. And then this becomes positive. And so sure enough, negative 5 plus 14 is 9. And so it works. So I know I did it right. Okay? So on your whiteboards, I've got 7 over 2 plus 3 over x is equal to 3. So figure out the lowest common denominator, then multiply everything on top by the lowest common denominator. All right, so the LCD was 2x, and looked like most of you ended up with x equals negative 6. If we plug it back in, it works, and so we know we did it right. Okay, any questions on that one? All right, so now we've got another example. Now I've got 1 minus 8 over x minus 5 equals 3 over x. So the lowest common denominator for this one is going to be x times x minus 5. Do you guys agree? Okay. So I'm going to rewrite my problem so I've got some more room. Okay, so I'm going to multiply everything, all the numerators, by x times x minus 5. So times, oops, times x. Oh, that's not the color I want. Okay. So yeah, I'm only multiplying the numerator because I want my denominator to cancel out and go away. All right, so here my x minus 5's cancel out, and there the x's cancel out. And then it's just a matter of multiplying everything that's left over. So if I distribute my x and to the x minus 5, I get x squared minus 5x. And then I have minus 8x equals, and then I have to distribute the 3 here, so 3x minus 15. So this time I have a quadratic. So what do we have to do when we have a quadratic? We need to get everything on one side, right? And make it equal 0. So if I combine my like terms and subtract the 3x and subtract the 15, I end up with x squared minus 16x plus 15 equals 0. Because the negative 5 and negative 8 gave me negative 13x, and I had to subtract another 3x and then add the 15 over. And so then I factor that. And it's x minus 1 times x minus 15. And so if I solve it, I get that x is equal to 1, or x equals 15. Now when we start getting into when there's quadratics, you can have extraneous solutions. So you do need to go back and check your solutions and make sure they work. So let's do that now. So for the first one, I've got 1 minus 8 over 1 minus 5 equals 3 over 1. And so that's 8 over negative 4. And so negative 4, because the negative and the negative, that becomes positive. So it's 1 plus 2 equals 3, and 1 plus 2 does equal 3. And then if I test my other one, 1 minus 8 over 15 minus 5 equals 3 over 15. I get 8 over 10. 3 over 15 reduces to 1/5. And so 1 minus 8 over 10 is 2/10. And 2/10 does reduce to 1/5. So that one works also. So I know that both of these are a solution to this one. Okay. Any questions there? All right, I think we just have time for you guys to do one more on your whiteboards. I'll save you some time since we are running out of time. There is not an extraneous solution on this one. So you're going to have 2 answers for that one, okay? All right, so we had to multiply everything times 2x times x plus 1. And everything, you cancel out everything and get it to one side, and you get 6x squared minus 8x minus 8 equals 0. So when you factor it, x equals negative 2/3 or x equals 2. Any questions? All right, that's it for today.